All right, guys, we're going to get ready for the Chapter 5 test. So between this and your 2 quizzes from the chapter, you should have a really good idea of what your test is going to look like. This is nearly identical. So just to note, you've got slope-intercept form, standard form, point-slope form, and the slope formula all at the top of it. Please use those, okay? So this first one, it says find the slope. That's for the first 3 problems here. And then if there are fractions that can be reduced, you always want to reduce those. So if this is x1, y1, and x2, y2, remember it's a good idea to always label those. We're going to plug that into the slope formula. So to find the slope here, it would be 5 minus 1 over 2 minus a negative 4. So that's plus a positive. 5 minus 1 is 4, 2 plus 4 is 6, and like I said, we always want to reduce the fraction, so 4 over 6 is 2 over 3, so your slope would be 2/3 for that first one. Number 2 here, a vertical line. Remember oivx. Okay, a horizontal line has a slope of 0. A vertical line has a slope that is undefined. This is a vertical line. So the slope of this line would be undefined. This one, if I just drew another one here, that's a horizontal line, right? This is a horizontal line. If you think about looking out on the horizon, that goes this direction. So for a horizontal line, your slope is 0. Okay. When you are given a line like you are on number 3, you're just going to pick 2 points, and it really doesn't matter which 2 points as long as they fall perfectly on the graph. Now, my line maybe doesn't fall so perfectly on the graph, but let's pretend, okay? So those ones do. We get a little off down here, but we're just going to go with these. So if you pick a point, let's say I want to start here, okay? You always start at the left and work your way right. So if I'm going to start at that 0, 0 point, I'm going to go rise, so up 2, and then run is 1. So it's a slope of 2 over 1, which is really just a slope of 2. Okay, you don't need to write that as a fraction because 2 over 1 reduces to 2. All right, number 4, find the slope and find the y-intercept. Remember y equals mx plus b. M is your slope. B is your y-intercept. So my slope for this first one would be 3/7. And my y-intercept would be 4. Okay. Now number 5 is a little different because it's not in slope-intercept form, but you need a slope and an intercept. So what we're going to do is we're going to solve for y. Okay, we want it to be y equals something. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take away a 2. So I get 3y equals negative x, and then 11 minus 2 is a positive 9. And then your next step would be then to divide by 3 on everything. Okay, so this is 1. So y equals, this is like a negative 1 here. When it's a negative x, it's a negative 1. So really that's a negative 1/3 times x, and then plus 3. Make sure you divide that 9 by 3 also. So your slope is the coefficient to the x, the negative 1/3, and your y-intercept is the constant, which is the 3 here, and that is it. All right, this one says, write an equation for the line in slope-intercept form. So this is your y-intercept, that's your b. This is your slope, that's your m. So if you're writing y equals mx plus b, because that is slope-intercept form, and again, you have that up top, right? Please don't ignore those. If they tell you slope-intercept form, you should say, oh, it's got to look like that. Okay, so with that, we're going to say y equals, m is a negative 1/3 times x, and then b is 5, so plus 5. Okay, so that is your equation. Number 7, you have a slope of -3 and a y-intercept of 0. So y equals -3 times x plus 0. Well, when you add 0 to something, it doesn't do anything, right? So y equals -3x. That would be your best answer. Okay. All right, on to some graphing. So it says graph each equation, look at what form the equation is in and graph it accordingly. So I want you to try to graph it from the form that's been given. So like this one, this is slope-intercept form, right? So we have a slope and we have a y-intercept. Think about which one of those you plot first. Slope-intercept form, you should be plotting the y-intercept first, okay? So my y-intercept is a +4. That means from 0, 0, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 up. Okay, and then from there, a slope of 2, -2. So that's like -2 over 1. So you're going to go down 2 to the right 1 and plot a point there. Do it again. Down 2 to the right 1, down 2 to the right 1, down 2 to the right 1. So you get... I missed, but pretend I went right through those points. That would be your line. Okay, so that's when it's in slope-intercept form to start. Tell your neighbor what form this is. This is point slope, right? So y minus y1 equals m times x minus the x1 value. Remember, these are the ones that look opposite and they're in an opposite place. So the y comes first and then the x, and then it is opposite of what it looks like. So my point on this problem is going to be the opposite of a +1, so -1, and the opposite of a -2, so a +2. So we're going to plot the point -1, 2. Okay, so that's your first step. Figure out what the point is. My point was -1, 2, and then plot it. Once you've plotted it, then you can take a look at the slope. So your slope is -2/3, and remember it's rise over run. So a -2 is going to move us down 2. It is not a -3, okay? It's a negative only goes with one of those numbers. I always put it with the top number. So down 2, and then 1, 2, 3 to the right. You get that point. Technically, you only need 2 points, but I like to do more. So -2, 1, 2, 3. You could go the other way even. Get a point over there. Like I said, you don't have to, but I just kind of like to. Gives you a nicer line. All right, so that's point slope form. This last graphing problem is starts in standard form. Remember, standard is ax plus by equals c. This is the one we called the cover-up method. So if I cover up this because I plug a 0 in to get an x-intercept, right? I would get the equation 2x equals 12. Okay. Then if I go back, erase that, and I cover up the x instead, I get the equation -4y equals 12. So these are going to be intercepts, okay? This is, you get an x-intercept out of the deal, and you get a y-intercept out of the deal. So if I divide by 2, I get x equals 6. That's my x-intercept. If I divide by -4, I get y equals -3, and that's my y-intercept. So I'm going to plot both of those. An x-intercept of 6 is on the x-axis. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to the right from 0, 0. That's an x-intercept. The y-intercept is on the y-axis. So from 0, 0 again, not from the point you just plotted. From 0, 0, you're going to go 1, 2, 3 because it needs to be on the y-axis. And then the line that connects those two is your line. Okay. All right. Okay, number 11. It says write the equation in slope slope-intercept form. And if you recall, and you can see it up top, slope-intercept is y equals mx plus b. So the goal is to get it to be y equals. So we want to isolate. We want to get y by itself. The way we do that is we subtract 4x. So it's a negative 6y equals negative 4x, oh, not plus, minus 12. Okay. Then divide by negative 6, and you have to do that everywhere. Okay. So this is gone. We get y equals, be really careful with this. Negative 4 over negative 6 is a positive, right? Negative divided by a negative is a positive. That reduces to 2/3, so 2/3 x. Again, a negative divided by a negative is a positive, so plus 2. Okay, so that is slope-intercept form. Gotta let my dog in, hold on. Number 12 says write the equation in standard form. This is one of those where you can't have fractions. So if I'm trying to get rid of the fraction, what I do is I multiply by the denominator, right? And if you recall, we did this by every single piece of the equation. So this entire thing is going to get multiplied by 4. So 4 times y is 4y. 4 times 1/4 x is 1x. So I'm just going to call it x. And then 4 times a negative 2 is a negative 8. Okay, then remember, we don't love to have a negative out in front of our x. So I'm going to move the 4y here, and I'm going to move the 8 here. So subtract a 4y from this side and add an 8 to this side. So it's going to be 8 equals, so this is gone because I added 8, x minus 4y. So this is great, or maybe you like it the exactly standard way. Okay, this is even better. X minus 4y equals 8. Number 13 says find the x and y intercepts of the line. This is what we just did in number 10, okay? So x and y intercepts, you have the cover-up method. So we're going to say negative 20x equals 40. And then when we solve that, that'll be our x-intercept. And then we're going to say 5y equals 40. And that'll be our y-intercept. So for this first one, divide by negative 20. And you get x equals a negative 2. So that's your x-intercept. This one, divide by 5. So y equals 8. And that will be your y-intercept. Okay, so cover-up method. It's essentially saying if x is 0, what is y? And if y is 0, what is x? Okay. All right, number 14. This says write an equation in point-slope form for the line with the given slope and passes through the given point. So point-slope form is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So this is about as easy as they come because they gave you the slope and they gave you the point, and it's just a matter of plugging it in. So this will be your x1 and your y1. And if I plug into that, it is y minus a 6 equals the slope, negative 3/5, and then x minus a negative 1, which will be plus a positive 1. So your best answer is y minus 6 equals negative 3/5 times x plus 1. And that is it. Okay, point slope form. All right, number 15. This says write an equation in point slope form and slope intercept form for the line through the points. So if we're going to write in point slope form or slope intercept form, we need a slope. Okay, so if you look back up at the very top of the paper again, you see your slope formula. This is going to be x1, y1 and x2, y2. So it's going to be y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So plug that in. 6 minus 3 over negative 4 minus a negative 3. Okay, now simplify that. So 6 minus 3 is 3. Negative 4 minus a negative is plus a positive. So negative 4 plus 3 is negative 1. And then if you simplify that, that just becomes a negative 3. So that's your m. That's your slope. Okay. Now, if we want to put it into point slope, you just have to pick one of those points. And you may pick either one. Okay. I'll just pick the first one, but if you pick the second one, it's fine. So we'll say y minus our y value, which is 3, equals, lots of 3's here, negative 3 times x minus a negative 3. So that's going to be plus a positive 3. So that is your point slope form. That's y minus 3 equals negative 3 times x plus 3. Okay, then it says do slope intercept form, and you have two options here. You could do slope intercept using one of these points, so either one of those with the slope we found, or what I think is easier is just take your point slope form and turn it into slope intercept form. So if you distribute this, okay, it would be y minus 3 equals negative 3x minus 9, and then you would add 3. So y equals negative 3x minus 6, and that is your slope intercept form. Okay, so those are your two equations, point slope and slope intercept. Okay, these next four, it says tell whether the following are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. To this equation. Okay, now let's think about what it means to be parallel or perpendicular. Parallel lines are going to have the same slope. Perpendicular lines are going to have opposite reciprocal slopes. Okay, so if the line is parallel, it's going to have a slope of negative 2/3. If it's perpendicular, your slope is going to be a positive 3/2. If it's something completely different, then it's going to be neither. All right, so take a look at this one. We need to find a slope, which means we need to put it into slope intercept. So we're going to add 3x. So 2y equals 3x plus 6, and then we're going to divide. So y equals 3/2 x plus 3. Okay, so here's one equation. Here's the other equation, and we said if it's going to be perpendicular, it's going to have a slope of 3/2, and this one does. So those two lines would be perpendicular. Okay. Look at number 17. Y equals negative 2/3 x minus 1. So the slope is the same, which would mean parallel. And the y-intercepts are different, which means it can, in fact, be parallel. If they were the same, then it would be the same line, right? But these are parallel. All right, number 18. All you have to do on this one is isolate the y. So divide everything by 5. So y equals negative 3x plus 2. Okay, so we have this equation compared to this equation. So a slope of negative 3 is not the opposite reciprocal of a negative 2/3. It's not the same as a negative 2/3. So this would just be, it's neither. It's not parallel, it's not perpendicular, it is neither one. All right, last one of these. So we are going to isolate our y. So we're going to add 9x to both sides. So 6y equals 9x plus 18. And then we're going to divide by 6 on all of them. Okay. So y equals 9/6 is going to be 3/2 times x. And then 18 over 6 is 3. So that's a positive 3. So we have this equation and we have this equation. This was a slope of negative 2/3. Now it's a positive 3/2. So those are opposite reciprocals. It flipped over and changed the sign. So that's going to be perpendicular. Okay. All right, last two here. Number 20. Now it says to write an equation in point slope form for a line that passes through the given point and is parallel to the given line. So we want to go through this point. We'll call this x1, y1. And then the only thing that we want from number 20's equation is the slope. Okay, I cannot stress this enough. I don't care about the 7. I don't want you to use the 7. The only thing I want you to use is the slope of that line. Okay, so we're going to say y minus y1, point slope form, equals m times x minus x1. Okay, so then if we plug that in, it's going to be y minus a negative 5, which is y plus 5, right? Equals your slope, 3/4, times x minus your x value. So this is your point slope form, okay? If you want to just write it as y plus 5, that's even better. Same thing. Okay. Okay, last one. And maybe one of the trickier ones for a lot of people. This says write an equation in slope intercept. So this is y equals mx plus b, okay? That is perpendicular to the given line and goes through that given point, okay? So if I want a perpendicular slope to this line, tell your neighbor what you think that's going to be. Did you say 2? Flip it over, right, and change the sign. So it was negative, make it positive. It was 1/2, make it 2/1, which is just 2, okay? So I want a slope of 2, and this is my point. So if this is my x and my y, and I'm going to put it into y equals mx plus b, I'm going to just start plugging things in. 4 equals 2 times our x value, negative 6, plus b. So 4 equals negative 12 plus b. So we're going to go plus 12 plus 12. So 16 is your b value. And then we're going to plug that into slope-intercept form. So the slope we said was 2. The y-intercept is 16. So y equals 2x plus 16. And that would be the equation of the line that is perpendicular to the equation that they gave us. Okay, so y equals 2x plus 16. I will just show you through this one more time if there was anything that you missed and need to write down. Here is the whole thing. Okay. All right. That is it. Have a great day.